Okay, so let's talk about that second question in terms of really the ability to identify how do I define the support that I want? So, Lori and Carrie, why don't you share with us what you've learned as winning strategies for how to ask for support and define what support means to you?
Well, for me, I know this has been huge. I have a 16-year-old daughter, so teenagers alone are a challenge. But I have been really working on, modeling for my daughter about what healthy support looks like as her mother. But I've just recently been recognizing that she is now modeling it back to me. So, for example, we had an issue with some grade issues, and I wasn't really sure if she was telling me the truth. So in a very respectful way, I'm like, I would like to see a screenshot of your grades, and just so we can make sure we're on the same page. And so she sent it, and she was absolutely being honest. And she said back, I know when I was a teenager, I would have barked back at my mom and been like, why would you ever think? But she was like, Mom, I really respect that we're checking up on me, and that made me feel loved. So that's just a tiny example. I don't know about as far as Carrie obviously is my number one go-to for support. And I think, that's the interesting thing I think about this life coaching is if somebody isn't coached or doesn't understand that jargon, like for example, that 10 moment, they don't know what you're talking about. It's just, so for Carrie and I, it's super easy just to go back and forth with some tools, or have you thought about this, or what made it good, or she'll ask me some reflective questions. And I noticed in my friendships that maybe haven't been coached, it's more, they'll just tell me, well, this is what you should do. And that doesn't feel good. And so I'm really recognizing that I don't want to do that to other people either. I don't want to do it to my kids. So that's something I'm really working on, is supporting other people instead of telling them what to do, including my kids. And as a mother, that's how I was raised. I was just told what to do, and that doesn't feel good. So I'm really working on that with my kids, because I've noticed they're responding. They like that feels good to them.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because for me, that whole expectations or thoughts about what I need for winning strategies, or how to make my day work, or how to make that moment work, or, really just what to tell somebody how or what you need, seems so simple. Yet I think for the longest time, I had my thoughts that I just assumed other people could read, just because they know me. So you don't know what to do. That was literally in my head. And it sets people, when you go along through life like that, it sets people up for failure, and it sets you up for disappointment. And we worked on that pretty early, Jane and I, but Laura and I, we've been working on this since we're in 7th grade, where we're literally trying super hard to practice saying, what do we need? How do we define it? What are the winning strategies? And yes, practicing it with the children, but also just in our day-to-day relationships with coworkers, each other, our coaches, anybody, the person at the grocery store. Like, I would prefer you not to put my bread underneath the peanut butter. Just saying it is not that complicated, yet and then this happens to take complete ownership into how we react to things, right? Like, if we aren't saying them, we're just thinking somebody's going to expect it and read our mind, and they're going to get it right. And when they don't, we're upset and we're disappointed and we're mad and we're not neutral anymore. Now all of a sudden we're reactive. And this is like energy management 101 fail. Like, it's just like this big circle. And so I feel like it's so amazing to think of everything we do with, well, how can I help you? What are the winning strategies? what can you do? And just taking a time out instead of grabbing things and like forcing things, letting things happen, and then recognize that, all we can do is learn from them and say, what can we do better next time? And then also set things up, set it up, make the stage, communicate. And it really has helped a big difference with all entities.